Hello, hello. Look at all you fresh-faced filmmakers. My name is John. I'll be your instructor for the Do-It-Yourself documentary filmmaking class here at Northwest Documentary. So as we get started here, I want to plant a seed in your mind, and that is that right now you are documentary filmmakers. Because as a filmmaker, you have keys that are going to give you access to places and people.
Dear Tom Donahue,
you never
I've always wanted to do what you do.
You won't believe the doors that will open for you when you tell people that you're making a movie.
Introducing myself to you as a filmmaker, however, has closed a door that may never reopen. You see, Mr. Donahue, I had no idea that you were making a movie about Bill Gold when I tried to arrange an interview with him. Gold is responsible for some of Hollywood's most iconic movie posters, from The Exorcist to Clockwork Orange to Casablanca. Bill Gold's career spans the better part of a century. He started as an art director at Warner Brothers before opening his own poster business in the late 1950s. Mr. Gold's body of handcrafted work is unmatched by any other movie poster artist in American film history, except for possibly my great-grandfather. His name was Louis Coud. Who? Yeah, I never heard of him either, until 60 years after his death, when I opened this little yellow box, which belonged to him. You're probably thinking, who the hell is this guy? My name is Cameron Coud, and I'm a 28-year-old writer, and I live in Portland, Oregon. This is a scrapbook that I made when I was 16. As you can see, I've always had a fondness for both movie posters and art. My father, Mitchell Coud, died just a few years before I made this thing. Here's one of the few pictures I have of us together. Everybody from my father's side of my family is dead. Here are my parents at the first ever Rocky Horror Picture Show. Movies have always been a huge theme in my family. This puzzle was given to him and my mother as a wedding gift. The only thing more dramatic than my father's short life was his long death. He spiraled and went off the deep end and became a drug addict. My mother wouldn't let him in the door, and she would call the cops on him, and she had restraining orders against him, and we moved countless times. The whole time he was able-bodied, my mother lived in fear. He was driven to madness after the sudden death of his own father, Jay. When my grandfather died, it was just right before my third birthday. This was my grandfather, J.M. Coud. Like Mitchell and myself, Jay also grew up in Los Angeles. His big claim to fame? Playing an extra in Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments. This minor role was all that my family knew about Jay's film career, until not too long ago, when I Googled my grandfather's name and found this grindhouse flick from 1955 that Jay wrote, produced, and starred in. When I ordered the DVD on Amazon, I saw my grandfather as a young man, and I heard his voice for the very first time.
I'll be down to see you soon.
My grandfather's character in this mysterious movie? A high-class pimp. Since opening this little yellow box, I've learned that the Flesh Merchant has played at film festivals in Europe.
And here's the man who runs the store, Mr. Flesh Merchant himself. Well, how's business? What's sex selling for these days? And passion and obscenity?
That's enough.
I thought that this little yellow box belonged to Jay, but it actually belonged to his father, Louis. I had never heard my great-grandfather's name before opening the box. This was my great-grandfather, Louis Coud. He was a successful movie poster artist. Louis was the art director of LA's largest theater chain, but he left that job to open his own movie poster business, where he did work for every major studio. Right around the time that The Flesh Merchant hit the big screen, my grandfather was traumatized by the highly suspicious death of his father, Louis. Jay buried Louis in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and then he quit making movies without ever looking back. You know, at some point, the roots were severed. Even though none of this remarkable knowledge was passed down to me, Louis' little yellow box was. And opening this box has reconnected me to my roots in ways I didn't think were possible. Having more knowledge about where I came from. So, what was in the box? Makes me feel more aligned with my endeavors. Over 100 photographic negatives. Now, I'm on a mission to learn which movie posters were made by my great-grandfather. And it hasn't been easy. Craftspeople were rarely credited in those early days of Hollywood, and if Louis were alive today, he would be 108 years old. It's unlikely that anyone who would know is still alive. However, the contents of Louis' little yellow box indicate that he may have created some of Hollywood's most classic movie posters. From the original Gone with the Wind poster that inspired this painting, to Jezebel, to Casablanca. Wait. Casablanca? That's right. This was one of the very first movie posters ever made by Bill Gold. Bill was only 20 years old when he made it, and it launched a lifetime of making movie posters. Talk about striking gold. This uncredited Casablanca poster is just as iconic as the Bill Gold version. Who made it? Was it Louis? Is anybody still alive who might remember? These were the burning questions that I sought answers to when I learned that Bill Gold was still alive and pushing 95. Both of these men worked as art directors before opening their own movie poster business. Their careers overlapped for more than a decade. They may have both made poster art for Casablanca. Were they collaborators? Competitors? I had to speak with Gold immediately. It's her. Hello, Mrs. Gold.
Hi, Cameron. I got your email.
Thank you so much for getting back to me. Does your husband have any recollection of my great-grandfather?
I'm sorry, but we can't help you. Another filmmaker is already doing a documentary about my husband, and we feel like it would be a conflict of interest.
Ouch. So, who is this other filmmaker? You guessed it, it's you, Tom Donahue. After seeing some of your work, I couldn't wait to get you on the phone. Your last documentary prompted the Academy of Arts and Sciences to recognize an overlooked art form in film history. I told you all about the documentary that I've been developing. Surely, I thought, you would be interested in the untold story of my great-grandfather, whose career likely intertwined with Bill's. I told your assistant how important it was for me to speak with the subject of your next documentary, which you plan to call This is Gold. When you learned that I had no film credits to my name, your assistant gave me the age-old industry brush-off, and it was quite a reality check. What's been most humbling for me in this project is crashing into these walls with working professionals and people who have experience in the industry and people who are more established, not having the knowledge and experience to back it up. So, here I am, making my dreams come true and learning to do what you do. Make documentaries. I know that I'm an amateur, making a movie out of thin air based on nothing but an old, faded little yellow box. And I know that you are a busy professional, shining a spotlight on the polished, golden career of a living legend. But I beg you, please, let me speak with the elderly man sitting in front of your camera before his lights go out and I am forever left in the dark.